a Republican member of Congress shares her thoughts with Joe Rogan on how we develop some of the technology that allows us to wage those wars.
I think that some of the tech that exists, that whatever these things have, these energy things have.
Energy things? What do you mean?
Well, they call them interdimensional beings. I think that they can actually operate through the time spaces that we currently have. And that's not something that I came up with on my own. That's based on stuff that we've seen. That's based on information that we've been told. And then also, too, I think that there's this historical aspect of, this gets into the deeper theories and concepts of religion and I think the history that we currently know and that kind of spins off into another topic of, you have the modern day Bible, you have this aspect of Bibles or books of the Bible that have been removed that explain and kind of touch on these topics. And I think that we're in a time and age where you have such a vast amount of information that we have access to via social media, via your cell phone, via the internet. And so it's really changing the way that we understand, the origins of life and the spiritual reality that we know.
So in case you had trouble following that, the claim from this ostensibly conservative member of Congress is that the U.S. government develops technology by reverse engineering the spaceships of interdimensional extraterrestrial aliens, the existence of which was hidden by the Council of Rome in the year 382, but which has since come to light because now we have cell phones. So I watched that clip. I hate to criticize Republicans in Congress or in the administration or anywhere, but that clip, that one really got me because it touched on so many things that aren't true. Like not just the aliens and the spaceships, but really, I guess what tipped me off was this point she made about books of the Bible being removed. Because it's true that people have removed books of the Bible over the years. I don't think she's talking about Martin Luther and, the book of Tobit or something. I don't think we're talking about Ecclesiasticus here. This sounds very Gnostic. This sounds very New Agey. This sounds real hippy-dippy. And just to make sure that I wasn't reading something into it that wasn't there, I watched another clip where Congress lady Anna Paulina Luna had this to say about what she means about people taking books out of the Bible.
Why is it that you also have this aspect of, a certain religion that has been very controlled and I think rolled out in a certain aspect. And, when you have certain books that are removed because they don't think that people should have access to this information or know it, why remove a book from a Bible?
You have to really understand the history of the Bible to be able to figure out what's legitimate, what's not, why they put it into the New Testament. I had some very erroneous ideas about it until I talked to intelligent people that really know the history of it. And it's very strange stuff.
Well, so from what I gather, and by the way, I'm not a theologian in any capacity, but just from my personal opinion on this. So you have the Ethiopian Orthodox text, which has, I think, 88 books of the Bible in total. But in the Ethiopian Orthodox text, it's basically kind of like a mainline OG version of the Bible. And then sometime in the 4th century, there was actually a group that came together and they removed certain books.
Yeah, okay, all right. Listen, I'm not a theologian, but I'm just going to say a bunch of stuff anyway. Listen, I don't know anything that I'm talking about, but I'm going to just start talking, okay? And I love Rogan here, and he says, yeah, have you considered talking to intelligent people about this? Have you, no, interesting, no, I'm with you, I'm going to let you finish, but have you considered speaking to anyone who, knows anything about this? And you can tell that what she's talking about here is the Catholics. She's taking a hit at Catholics. Hold on 1 second. Go to hallow.com/Knowles. This August, I want you to join me for the St. Michael's Lent Challenge on Hallow. This is a 40-day journey of prayer, fasting, and real spiritual growth inspired by St. Francis of Assisi's devotion to St. Michael the Archangel. Now, this is not your typical self-help program. One of the big differentiating factors is this one will actually help you. St. Michael's Lent is an ancient tradition that calls us to virtue, sacrifice, and sanctity. You will tackle the 7 deadly sins head-on: pride, anger, lust, envy, sloth, gluttony, and greed, with insights from Fulton Sheen's Victory Over Vice, read by Chris Stefanik and Father Isaiah. You will hear honest, sometimes hilarious stories from people like comedian Shane Smith, about battling vice in real life. Plus, you will journey with the real St. Francis. Not the sanitized version with Disney and little chirping birdies on his head. We're talking about the real guy, the bold, radical saint who is completely in love with God. The challenge includes the Litany of St. Michael, Gospel Reflections, a powerful closing novena, and as we approach Michaelmas on September 29th, this is your chance to armor up spiritually. If you're tired of soft, secular approaches and ready to grow in grace through real spiritual discipline, join St. Michael's Lent. It starts August 13th on the Hallow app. Get 3 months free at hallow.com/Knowles. She's saying there was a certain religion in antiquity, in the earliest years of the church, this certain organization that was very controlled. I'm looking at you mackerel snappers. I'm very controlled. And they took books out of the Bible. And so it's clear she's not referring to, say, Protestant revolutionaries later on, taking the deuterocanonical books and calling them apocrypha or taking them out entirely or questioning the Epistle of James or any of these things. She's talking about the Gnostic texts, which is what all the New Agey pro-alien people are always talking about. Hey, man, have you ever heard about the Gospel of Thomas, man? Yeah, man, they didn't put that one. They took that one out of the Bible. What does it mean they took it out of the Bible? The canon of the Bible was not set until 382. She says, well, some of the Ethiopians have a different canon of the Bible. Okay, well, who died and made the Ethiopians Pope? Who cares what listen, it's interesting. It's interesting to compare different canons, but where I don't even understand the argument that would impel this woman to say, well, yes, the Ethiopians, they clearly are the infallible authority on what constitutes the canon of the Bible, compared to ecumenical councils many, many times over the years at Rome, Hippo, Carthage, Florence, Trent. Finally, Trent really, just reiterates everything that we've been hearing since antiquity. Those were ecumenical councils with bishops from all over the place. She saw this group of people got together. They took books out of the Bible. There was no canon of the Bible until the canon was set. And as though, this is the other thing about the Gnostic texts that are all really weird and hippie and new agey, and a lot of people who are into this stuff cite them. If you've ever I've read some of these books. If you've ever read like the Heretical Gospel of Thomas or something like that, the one takeaway you'll have is, I think the church fathers, I think the ecumenical councils, they probably got it right because these books were written much later. They don't have good provenance. They're ridiculous in most ways. I think they probably got it right. But also, just because something's not included in the canon of the Bible doesn't mean you can't read it. You can read it and judge for yourself and recognize why it's not in the canon of the Bible. I mean, there are good books that are not in the canon of the Bible, like the Proto-Evangelium of James, for instance, but there are also stupid, ridiculous books that are not in the canon of the Bible, like a bunch of Gnostic, Manichaean nonsense and heretical pseudo-gospels that were written centuries after the fact. All for what? Because you don't understand, man. They've been covering up the alien spaceships since the 4th century, man. Good grief. I don't think that's the most plausible explanation for how we got drones. I don't know. Call me crazy. Did you love that clip? Did you love it? I did. I liked doing it. I liked it the first time. I liked it the second time that we were all just watching it together. If you want to get more of them, you don't want to just rewatch this clip. You want to get all the other clips. You have to subscribe on whichever platform that this is playing on right now, be it YouTube or Twitter or MySpace or your hard drive. You have to subscribe. See you next time.